get into the why. This is the launch of the module. We're going to take a look at 4 things about redefining what we mean by the word student. And so as we prepare for this upcoming school year, we're going to have to be fluid. We might be online, we might be hybrid, we might be face-to-face, we might be a mix and match depending on how things happen around the world and the globe and your local community. And so as we think about that, we also have to think about how students are going to define themselves. And this is really going to set the stage for the work we're going to do in this module. And so the first one that I want you to think about as we think about 4 student adjustments is that first is the technology. Students are going to have to learn how to use the technology. We want to make sure that the technology helps them get to the academic learning, the social, emotional well-being learning, and not be the focus of the learning. And I think as we go through and we're trying to learn all these new tips and tools and strategies and things that we can use to increase engagement and grab students' attention, we want to make sure that we start off making sure they understand the tech. So what's the tech you're going to be using? What's the tools you're going to be using? And what are those things that you have put in place to make sure that they don't become a barrier, they become an asset to the learning? The second thing we think about student adjustments, because we may not be able to see them face to face and walk them through these things, is the idea of their identity. Many students have an identity about themselves. When they walk into the classroom, they have an identity of who they're going to be, where they're going to sit, the group dynamics, the teacher-student dynamic. A lot of these things that happen, 180 days a year, kids have an identity. But now as we start to think about hybrid, we start to think about online, that identity changes. And so what are we doing to help them understand who they are, what kind of learner they are, how they interact in class settings, which kind of leads into this third student adjustment that we need to think about as we think about this virtual and blended learning is interaction. Interaction looks different in these cases where face-to-face, it's very regulated with the teacher. The teacher waits for the bell, you take your attendance, you tell them, you kind of dictate the flow of your classroom. Well, this is going to have to be different. Here we're at to think about how we teach interaction. What does synchronous learning look like? Asynchronous learning look like? What does collaboration look like in an online space, in a hybrid space? How do I engage and interact with my peers and with my teachers? It's the same goal, but different modalities in terms of how we're going to help students achieve that. And then the last thing is just course design. Just like we talked about before, kids know the class is 45 minutes, 90-minute block. The teacher's going to do this, and there's going to be a schedule. There's going to be a thing on the whiteboard. There's going to be these types of things that we become accustomed to. Well, now course design does look and feel different. We're going to have to go different places. We're going to have to communicate differently. We're going to have to do some things independently that we haven't necessarily had to do before when we had the face-to-face on a day-to-day basis. So those are the 4 things that are kind of the why to the work we're going to be doing next. So what I want you to do as you think about those 4 things is in the Google form, you'll see it on the module website. I've got 2 questions posed for you under student adjustments. Which of these 4 elements have you already crafted and infused into your first week or couple weeks of learning that you're going to address that? What's that look like? It'll be interesting to see how you are addressing those shifts in how we identify students. And the second question is, which of these elements need to be brought to the forefront? Which of these have you not thought about that maybe you need to go back and think about in that first week of school, that second week, or maybe it's a whole school or district mindset? What does that look like? So I want you to go over to the forum. Which of these stood out to you? What are you already using? How are you addressing it? What are your tips and strategies? Let's bring the professionalism of educators to the forefront here and just have some conversation around that. We're going to dive into some things we can do next to help students with those 4 things. But for now, let's just have that conversation because a lot of you are already doing incredible work. All right, my friends, as always, stay awesome. Peace.